3 IKEA stores, horror stories. Story 1. The Showroom Part 1. My name is Brianna, and I was 27 years old when this happened. I was shopping alone at an IKEA in suburban Houston, Texas, on a Saturday afternoon. It was around 3:45 p.m., and the store was crowded with weekend shoppers browsing through the endless maze of showrooms. I was looking at bedroom furniture when I first noticed the man. He was standing in a mock bedroom display about 30 feet away, pretending to examine a nightstand. But he was not looking at the furniture. He was watching me. Every room I entered, he appeared within minutes. Subscribe now and leave a comment below, because that man followed me through every floor of that store. Part 2. IKEA on a Saturday was always an experience. The crowds, the maze-like layout, the endless showrooms designed to make you wander through the entire store. I had been there dozens of times enough to know the shortcuts and the tricks to navigate efficiently. That Saturday I was looking for a new bed frame. My old one had finally broken, and IKEA had the best prices for decent quality furniture. I arrived around 3 when the parking lot was already packed. Inside the store hummed with the noise of hundreds of shoppers pushing carts, debating furniture choices, and wrangling children through the displays. I made my way to the bedroom section on the second floor, weaving through the living room displays and kitchen setups. The bedroom showrooms were arranged in a long row, each one decorated to look like a complete room. Beds, dressers, nightstands, lamps, everything positioned to make you imagine it in your own home. I was examining a wooden bed frame when I felt eyes on me. I looked up. A man was standing in the next showroom, maybe 30 feet away. He was facing a nightstand, but his eyes were fixed on me. Part 3. I told myself it was nothing. IKEA was crowded. People looked at each other all the time. I moved to the next showroom to check a different bed frame. A minute later, the man appeared in my peripheral vision. Different position, same intense stare. I walked faster, moving through several displays without stopping. I glanced back. He was following, maintaining his distance, but always visible, always watching. I ducked into a shortcut between showrooms, one of the staff passages that most customers did not know about. I emerged in the children's section, surrounded by bunk beds and colorful decorations. I waited, watching the entrance to the shortcut. He did not appear. I let out a breath. Maybe I had imagined it. Maybe he'd just been going the same direction. I turned around. He was standing right behind me. Part 4. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a display of stuffed animals. "Can I help you?" I demanded. He smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "I have been watching you for weeks now. At the grocery store, at the gym, at your apartment. You never noticed me, but I noticed you." My blood went cold. "Who are you?" "Someone who appreciates beauty. Someone who knows everything about you, Brianna." He knew my name. "How do you know my name?" "I told you. I have been watching. I know your name, your address, your schedule. I know you come to IKEA alone on Saturdays. I know you park on the 3rd level of the garage near the elevator." I looked around desperately. We were surrounded by displays, but no other customers were in immediate view. "I am calling security." I reached for my phone. He grabbed my wrist. Part 5. His grip was like iron. "That would be a mistake. We're just having a conversation." "Let go of me." "Not yet. I have been waiting for this moment for weeks. Finally getting to talk to you face to face." I tried to pull away. His grip tightened. "You are hurting me." "Then stop struggling." A family with 2 children entered the showroom area, pushing a cart loaded with flat pack boxes. The man saw them and released my wrist. "We will continue this later," he whispered, "when you are alone." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the maze of displays. I stood there, shaking my wrist, throbbing where he had grabbed me. The family passed by, oblivious to what had just happened. Part 6. I found a store employee and reported the incident. "There's a man following me through the store. He grabbed me. He knows my name, my address. He has been stalking me." The employee grabbed her radio and called security. Within minutes, 2 security guards arrived. They took my description and started searching the floor. But IKEA was massive. Hundreds of thousands of square feet, dozens of showrooms, multiple floors. Finding one person in that maze was nearly impossible. They did not find him. Security escorted me to my car on the 3rd level of the parking garage, exactly where he said I would be parked. He knew my car. He knew my spot. He knew everything. I drove straight to the police station. Part 7. The police took my statement and pulled security footage from the IKEA. The footage showed him following me from the moment I entered the store. He had been waiting near the entrance, watching customers arrive. When I walked in, he followed. The footage showed him trailing me through every department, maintaining distance, but always keeping me in sight. It showed him approaching me in the children's section. It showed him grabbing my wrist. They identified him through the footage. His name was Harold Eugene Whitmore, 52 years old. He had a history of stalking charges in 4 states. When they searched his apartment, they found photographs of multiple women, all taken without their knowledge. Pictures at grocery stores, gyms, parking lots. Some pictures were taken through windows at night. My photograph was in the collection. Dozens of images taken over the course of 6 weeks. He had been documenting every aspect of my life. Part 8. Harold Whitmore was arrested 2 days later at a Target following another woman through the store. He was charged with stalking, harassment, and assault. Given his history across multiple states, the prosecutor sought the maximum sentence. He was convicted and sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. I moved to a different apartment after his arrest, changed my routine, my gym, my grocery store. I stopped going to IKEA on Saturdays. For 6 weeks, a man had been watching me without my knowledge. He knew where I lived, where I shopped, where I parked. He had photographs of me taken through my own windows, and I had no idea until he appeared behind me in a furniture store. If you ever feel like someone is watching you, please trust that feeling. Notice if the same person appears in different places. Report anything suspicious. Because sometimes the stranger in the showroom has been following you for longer than you know. And they are waiting for the moment when you are alone. Story 2. The Warehouse Part 1. My name is Terrell, and I was 23 years old when this happened. I worked the overnight shift at an IKEA distribution warehouse in suburban Atlanta, Georgia. It was a Wednesday night, 2:30 a.m., and the warehouse was operating with a skeleton crew. I was doing inventory checks in the far back section near the massive shelving units that stretched 40 feet toward the ceiling. Everything was quiet except for the hum of the ventilation system. That is when I heard footsteps above me, coming from the catwalks that ran between the upper shelving levels. Footsteps where no one should be at that hour. Subscribe now and leave a comment, because what was hiding in that warehouse almost cost me my life. Part 2. The IKEA warehouse where I worked was massive, covering several 100,000 square feet, filled with flat pack furniture waiting to be shipped to stores across the southeast. Metal shelving units rose nearly to the ceiling, creating canyons of cardboard boxes that stretched in every direction. The overnight shift was responsible for inventory management and preparing shipments for the morning trucks. The crew was small, maybe 10 people spread across the entire facility. I had been working there for about a year. The job was physical, but straightforward, and the overnight hours meant I could take classes during the day. That Wednesday I was assigned to Section K, the farthest corner of the warehouse from the main office. It was one of the most isolated areas, rarely visited by other workers during the overnight shift. I was scanning barcodes on pallets, updating the inventory system, when I heard the footsteps. The catwalks were metal grating platforms that ran along the upper levels of the shelving used for accessing inventory stored high up. They were only supposed to be used during the day shift, when supervisors could monitor safety protocols. At 2:30 a.m., no one should be up there. Part 3. I stopped working and looked up. The catwalk was about 30 feet above me, barely visible in the dim lighting of the warehouse. I could see a shadow moving along the grating, a figure walking slowly, carefully. "Hello, someone up there?" The footsteps stopped. Silence. "Maintenance, you guys working tonight?" No response. I grabbed my radio. "This is Terrell in Section K. Anyone else working this area tonight?" Static. Then a voice. "Negative. You should be alone back there. Everyone else is in sections A through D." "I am hearing someone on the catwalk above me. Can you send someone to check? Copy that. Marcus is heading your way." I looked back up at the catwalk. The shadow was gone. Part 4. I waited, my eyes scanning the upper levels. Nothing moved. The warehouse was silent, except for the distant hum of forklifts operating in other sections. Maybe I had imagined it. The overnight shift played tricks on your mind sometimes. The vast empty spaces, the dim lighting, the isolation. Then I heard a different sound, a cough, soft, muffled, coming from somewhere nearby, not from above, from ground level. I turned, slowly scanning the narrow aisles between the shelving units. "Hello?" Nothing. Then I saw movement, between two tall pallets about 50 feet away, a figure ducking out of sight. Someone was hiding in my section. Part 5. I backed toward the main aisle, keeping my eyes on the spot where I had seen the figure. "Marcus, I need you here now. There is someone in Section K who shouldn't be here. On my way. 2 minutes. 2 minutes." The section was at least a 5-minute walk from the main work area. I started moving toward the exit, walking backward and watching the shadows. The figure emerged from behind the pallets. A man. Maybe 50, with a scraggly beard and wild eyes. His clothes were dirty and torn, like he had been wearing them for weeks. "Do not run," he said. "I am not going to hurt you." "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "I have been living here for almost a month now, up in the catwalks. There are spaces between the shelving units where no one ever looks." Part 6. I kept backing away, maintaining distance. "Security is on the way. You need to leave." He took a step toward me. "I cannot leave. Out there I have nothing. In here I have shelter. Food from the break room at night. Water from the bathrooms. It is warm. It is safe. You cannot live in a warehouse. I have been doing it for a month, and I have been watching you." My blood went cold. Watching me. "You work this section every Wednesday night. You always come alone. You always stay until 4 a.m. He took another step closer. "I have been thinking about what to do about you. You're the only one who ever comes back here." I turned and ran. Part 7. I sprinted down the aisle, my boots pounding on the concrete floor. Behind me, I heard him following. His footsteps were fast, desperate. I burst out of Section K and nearly collided with Marcus, who was jogging toward me. There is a man back there. He has been living in the warehouse. Marcus grabbed his radio and called for security. Within minutes, multiple employees had converged on Section K. They found him hiding behind a stack of pallets, trying to make himself invisible. When they searched the upper catwalks, they found his nest. Blankets, food containers, water bottles. He had created a hidden living space in a gap between shelving units that was invisible from the ground. And they found notebooks, pages of observations about employees, our schedules, our routines, which sections we worked in when we were alone. My name appeared on multiple pages. Part 8. His name was Vernon Dale Simmons, 53 years old, homeless, with a history of assault and trespassing charges. He had been living in the warehouse for 5 weeks, hiding during the day, coming down at night to steal food and watch the overnight crew. The notebooks showed a pattern of fixation. He had been documenting employees, deciding which ones were most vulnerable, which ones worked in isolated areas. He had been building toward something. Vernon Simmons was charged with trespassing, stalking, and theft. Given the evidence in his notebooks, the prosecutor argued that he had been planning to assault someone. He was convicted and sentenced to 8 years in state prison. I quit my job at the warehouse the week after his arrest. I could not work in that building anymore. Every time I walked past the shelving units, I looked up at the catwalks. Every time I heard a sound in the darkness, I froze. For 5 weeks, a man had been living above us, watching us, documenting our every move, and none of us knew. If you work somewhere with large storage areas or hidden spaces, please be careful. Look for signs that someone has been there. Report anything suspicious. Because you never know who might be living in the spaces you never think to check. Watching, learning, planning. Story 3. The Parking Garage Part 1. My name is Marcus, and I was 31 years old when this happened. I had just finished shopping at an IKEA in suburban Chicago, Illinois on a Sunday afternoon. It was around 5:15 p.m., and the sun was starting to set as I pushed my cart toward the parking garage. I had parked on the 4th level in a corner spot that had seemed convenient when I arrived, but now sat shrouded in shadow. That is when I noticed the van. A white cargo van with no windows parked directly next to my driver's side door. It had not been there when I parked 3 hours earlier. The engine was running. Subscribe now. Because what was waiting in that van almost ended my life. Part 2. IKEA shopping trips always took longer than expected. I had gone in for a bookshelf and ended up with a cart full of items I had not planned to buy. 3 hours of wandering through showrooms loaded flat pack boxes and waiting in the checkout line. By the time I finally left the store, the sun was low in the sky, and the parking garage was filling with shadows. The garage was attached to the IKEA, a massive concrete structure with 5 levels. I had parked on the 4th level near the elevator, in a spot that had been well lit when I arrived at 2 p.m. Now, as I pushed my heavy cart toward my car, I noticed how dark the level had become. Half the overhead lights seemed to be out, casting long shadows across the concrete. My car was where I had left it. But something had changed. A van was now parked directly next to my driver's side door. A white cargo van with no windows on the sides. It had not been there when I arrived. I was certain. The engine was running. I could hear the low rumble echoing off the concrete walls. Part 3. I stopped walking my cart, coming to a halt about 40 feet from my car. The van's positioning was deliberate. It was parked so close to my driver's door that I would have to squeeze between the vehicles to get in. Anyone standing between the van and my car would be completely hidden from view. Through the tinted windshield, I could see a figure in the driver's seat, not moving, just sitting there, watching me. I looked around the parking level. Other cars were scattered throughout, but I didn't see any other people. The elevator was about 100 feet away. The stairwell was even farther. I pulled out my phone. 911. What is your emergency? I am in the parking garage at the IKEA on North Avenue. There is a van parked next to my car. It was not there when I arrived. The engine is running and someone is inside watching me. Can you describe the vehicle? White cargo van, no windows on the sides. I cannot see the license plate from here. Officers are being dispatched. Can you get to a safe location? I started backing toward the elevator. The van's side door slid open. Part 4. 2 men stepped out. Both were large, wearing dark clothes. They started walking toward me. "Hey, hold up," one of them called. "You dropped something back there." I abandoned my cart and ran. The elevator was too far. I sprinted toward the stairwell instead. Behind me, I heard running footsteps on the concrete. "Hey, stop!" The stairwell door was 30 feet away. 20. I hit the door and threw myself through, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Down, toward the main level, toward the store, toward people. I could hear them in the stairwell above me, their footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. I burst out onto the ground level and ran into the store entrance. Help, call security. There are men chasing me. Part 5. Employees looked up, startled. Customers turned to stare. I pointed toward the parking garage entrance. Through the glass doors, I could see the 2 men standing at the edge of the parking area. They had stopped running when I entered the store. They stood there for a moment watching me through the glass. Then they turned and walked back toward the stairwell. Security arrived within minutes. They reviewed the parking garage cameras while police were dispatched. By the time officers reached the 4th level, the van was gone, but the cameras had captured everything. Part 6. The footage showed the van arriving about an hour before I left the store. It had circled the parking level multiple times before parking directly next to my car. The footage showed both men getting out periodically, looking around, then getting back in to wait. They had been patient. They had been watching the elevator and stairwell, waiting for me to appear. When I finally emerged with my cart, they had been ready. The footage showed the side door opening, It showed both men emerging. It showed me running. The license plate was partially visible. The police ran it through their system. Part 7. The van was registered to a man named Carl Eugene Patterson, 47 years old. He had a history of robbery and assault charges. So did his associate Vernon Dale Hobbs. The police connected them to similar incidents at shopping centres across the Midwest. A white van, 2 occupants targeting people loading purchases into their cars in parking garages. Some of their victims had been robbed. Some had been hurt. 2 people who matched their target profile had disappeared from shopping centre parking lots in the past year. Their cases remained unsolved. Carl Patterson and Vernon Hobbs were arrested a week later at a different IKEA, attempting the same approach. A security guard noticed the van circling the parking garage and called police before they could approach anyone. Part 8. They were convicted of multiple counts of robbery, assault, and attempted kidnapping. When they searched properties connected to the 2 men, they found evidence linking them to the disappearances. Personal belongings, a vehicle. 1 body was recovered. The other victim has never been found. Carl Patterson and Vernon Hobbs are serving life sentences without parole. I think about that afternoon constantly. The van appearing next to my car, the side door sliding open. The words they called out about something I had dropped. If I had walked to my car without noticing the van, if I had tried to squeeze between the vehicles, if I had stopped when they called out, I would be another missing person, another unsolved case. I do not park in parking garages anymore. When I shop at large stores, I park in surface lots near entrances under lights. I check my car from a distance before approaching. Some people say I am overreacting. They did not see what the police found. They did not hear about the people who were not as lucky as me. If you ever find a van parked too close to your car, especially one that was not there when you arrived, do not approach. Go back inside. Call the police. Because sometimes the van is not there by accident. Sometimes it is waiting for you. The end. If these stories scared you, leave a comment below and tell me which one was the most terrifying. And remember, the next time you visit an IKEA, pay attention to your surroundings. Watch for people who follow you through the showrooms. Check the parking garage before you approach your car. And never assume you are safe just because you are in a busy store. Because predators know that IKEA is a maze. They know customers wander for hours, distracted by furniture and displays. And they are waiting for you to let your guard down.